It's time, Cougar Nation. Cougar Tracks. The best season analysis with BYU insider Mitch Harper on KSL NewsRadio and on video every day on the YouTube page for KSL Sports.
Welcome into Cougar Tracks here on the KSL Sports YouTube and KSL News Radio, your legacy home of the Cougars. I am your BYU insider, Mitch Harper. It's Friday, January 30th, one day away until BYU versus Kansas at historic Allen Fieldhouse. Biggest game in college basketball this weekend. College game day will be there. I will be there as well. Gonna hop on a plane to Kansas City here shortly to get ready for coverage this weekend of BYU and KU. And let's dive into the matchup with our top story of the day.
The top story of the day. The biggest story in the world of BYU sports right here on Cougar Tracks.
Number 13 BYU versus number 14 Kansas. Tip-off on Saturday, 2:30 p.m. at historic Allen Fieldhouse. Cannot wait for this game. Coverage will begin tomorrow here on KSL News Radio at noon from Lawrence. We'll get you ready for the Cougars and the Jayhawks in this big-time matchup that has so much on the line because BYU is looking to get a signature win this season. They haven't got that quad 1A victory yet. This would qualify as that because Kansas is trending up. Darryn Peterson's expected to play. He's been dealing with the ankle injury. You know, he dealt earlier in Big 12 play with the hamstring. He's playing at a high level for Kansas. And same with this Kansas team that's riding high after back-to-back road wins, which was kind of a bugaboo for this Kansas team and program at large. Road wins were hard to come by, so they're feeling good. And Kansas, they've had 6 days off to rest for this game. And in the Bill Self era, Kansas is 123-22 in those spots. So they're really good, really historically in any spot, but especially with a week off. It's going to be the 1,000th game at Allen Fieldhouse. And since 2010, Kansas has only lost 16 times at Allen Fieldhouse. They've lost 5 times in the past 3 seasons since BYU joined the Big 12. One of those losses, of course, was to BYU in the Cougars' last visit to Lawrence 2 seasons ago. But that was with Mark Pope and crew. This is now the Kevin Young regime. And it's easy to step into Allen Fieldhouse and be a little bit in awe. I had that experience last year when I stepped into that building. It's the best venue I've ever experienced to watch college basketball because you feel the history, the tradition. Wilt Chamberlain, Danny Manning, Jacques Vaughn, Rafe LaFrentz, Kirk Heinrich, Drew Gooden, Wiggins, Embiid, Devin Dotson, Frank Mason. As someone who loves college basketball, you just feel the history when you walk into that building. For guys today, I don't know if the history really does much for any of these guys, and I don't think they get too enamored by brands as much anymore or history because I don't think today's college athlete gets kind of wowed by that. But Kansas is a big-time setting, but BYU's a big-time team, and they feel like they're going to be a team that can have a lot of success in any setting, and head coach Kevin Young feels that their best days are definitely ahead of them.
The record's the record. I don't think we've played that great yet. I really don't. We haven't shot the ball that great in Big 12 play as a group. We've made too many defensive mistakes, and we're still been able to, acquire, stack some wins. So we gotta. I think the best and brightest days are ahead for us, and we got to continue to remain confident and just. When it hits, man, it's gonna be we're gonna be really dangerous.
I agree with that. This BYU team has so much good basketball ahead of them, but I think this is a game as an underdog that you got to go in and spring an upset here. BYU, their 3 losses this year have been against teams they've been the underdog against. Against teams where they're favored, BYU takes care of business and gets it done. Still, Kevin Young feels like there's better basketball ahead for this group.
People are learning. I think AJ's learning. I think think Rob's learning how to play with this group. I think, Beto was unreal in practice the last 2 days.
Yeah.
He's learning. I mean, the young man hadn't played really in 8 months. He's getting in shape. He can be a real X factor for us. Our guest tonight, Alexei. So I think that there's a lot of things to be excited about, and I don't even think we're anywhere near our ceiling.
And that's exciting, and I do agree with Kevin Young on that. I don't think that's coach speak. BYU has come nowhere close to its ceiling because you look at this BYU team, they're 12th in three-point field goal shooting in the Big 12. Kansas is 5th in three-point shooting. BYU, 12th in three-point shooting. I mean, I know it's a different construction with this roster compared to years past with BYU, but I've said all along, this team can shoot the three at a high clip. Them at 12th, that's way too low. They got to get some shots falling against Kansas tomorrow inside Allen Fieldhouse. And, of course, all eyes will be on A.J. Dybantsa and Darryn Peterson. A.J. averaging 24.5 points per game in Big 12 play. He's the second leading scorer in college basketball right now this season at 23.1. Darryn Peterson, he's 4th in Big 12 play at 23.1 points per game. He's knocking down 42% from three. Darryn Peterson is an excellent shot maker, and they're different styles of players. AJ's got so much length and so much athleticism. He's just a different build, and this was Bill Self on players that maybe he's gone up against that remind him of A.J. Dybantsa.
I don't think that he reminds me off the top of my head of anybody we played in the past. He's, he's ridiculously talented. He's long, and he can take, 2 strides to everybody else's 3. So he has a tendency to be able to step around you to create separation to get to a shot, and he's, he can score from beyond the arc, but he's, certainly so good in the mid-range lane type area. But he's a terrific talent. We've played other terrific talents here in the past. I don't know if we played many, if any, that you would look at from an athleticism standpoint, and say that he doesn't, fit a mold that you would look at as, some of the greatest NBA athletes out there, because it's 6'9", and I don't know what his wingspan is, but it's got to be well over 7, and to be that explosive and everything. He's a terrific talent.
7'2" is the wingspan on A.J. Dybantsa, who just turned 19 years old yesterday, celebrating his birthday, and a perfect birthday gift would be to get a win over this Kansas Jayhawk team that, again, is playing some good basketball, and they're getting good contributions from guys like Trey White, averaging 15.5 points per game in Big 12 play. Melvin Council, he's kind of the heart and soul, I think, of this team, a St. Bonaventure transfer. I think he's really kind of immersed himself as the dog mentality for this Kansas team. He's got a 3-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. Trey White, Council, they never really leave the floor for this Kansas team, similar to that of Rob Wright, A.J. Dybantsa and Richie Saunders. Those two guys for Kansas, they never leave the floor. Darryn Peterson, he's going to be a guy where they, probably gets about 30 minutes. We'll see, 28. Depends on, the health of Darryn Peterson, but he's obviously had a workload that's increased more as he's got healthier, dealing with the hamstring and now lately the ankle. But we'll see how that ankle responds this week in that game. There's going to be, I would imagine, a ton of NBA personnel, scouts, analysts, national college basketball people. It is going to be an insane environment at Allen Fieldhouse. Let's take a break. On the other side, I'll give you my prediction for this game and dive into the matchup in greater detail right here on Cougar Tracks, since powered by KSL Sports. Welcome back into Cougar Tracks here on the KSL Sports YouTube and KSL News Radio, your legacy home of the Cougars. Every single day, Cougar Tracks comes to you daily with the latest in the world of BYU athletics. We're getting ready for BYU versus Kansas. Saturday tip-off matinee, 2:30 p.m. Pre-game coverage on KSL News Radio begins at noon from Lawrence. We'll get you ready for BYU and KU. Again, I love Allen Fieldhouse. The tradition is incredible in this place, but BYU's got to push all that to the side to get ready for this game. And let's dive into my score prediction for BYU versus Kansas.
Score prediction. Will BYU come out on top? It's time for Mitch's score prediction for the next game.
I always feel good with this BYU team. I don't look at this BYU team being starstruck. The only game that I kind of looked at this season and thought BYU just doesn't have a great shot was the UConn game. That UConn game in Boston, that just was a tricky spot when you knew Kennard Davis was out. And then in the game early on, Dybantsa is out, and it was the backyard of UConn. Every other game I felt really good about BYU's chances, even Texas Tech, Arizona. I know that Arizona game went sideways on BYU until that late push. But I always feel good about BYU's chances in games. I'm going to go with BYU to win this game. Maybe it's a little bit of a blue goggle take, but I'm going to go with BYU to get it done, 79-78. And I don't necessarily think it's going to be the AJ show. I think everyone wants that to be, and everyone wants it to be AJ and DP, Darryn Peterson, going back and forth and having a clash similar to what they experienced in the high school ranks. I think, though, AJ, he never makes games about him. The guy he wants to uplift the team around him. Now, BYU is going to go into some ISO motions and try to find mismatches and try to get AJ to his spots against some of the weaker defenders that Kansas is going to have. But still, I think this is going to be a game where BYU can have some space. Now, Kansas has got a really good defense. They are really good defensively, much improved, I think, from last season. And Kansas, the thing about them is that they've been knocking down their shots, too. They're second in field goal percentage in Big 12 play at 48.6%. But I think BYU, with that momentum built from Kennard Davis, hitting 5 threes in the second half in that loss against Arizona, I think that was something tangible that can carry over into this game against Kansas. Kennard Davis, I think, gives you some valuable contributions. Maybe an Alexei Kostic, Bidu Abdullah Ahmed. Guys like that come off the bench and have big contributions for this BYU team. They're going to need that because Kansas, again, defensively, Flory Badunga is one of the best players in the Big 12, number one in block shots in Big 12 play. Dybantsa is fourth in Big 12 play. But Flory Badunga is also really good around the rim, number one in field goal percentage in league play at 76.8%. So when he gets his shots, he's going to knock them down more times than not. Elmarco Jackson, really good when it comes to picking off opposing teams, getting some steals, getting in the passing lanes. BYU's got to take care of the basketball. And turnovers have been an issue, I think, for this BYU team. They're 14th in turnover margin in Big 12 play. Kansas, not much better. They're 9th. They've had a minus turnover margin as well. I think turnovers are big in this game. Taking care of the basketball, valuing possessions, making the most of your opportunities. Don't have a Flory Badunga block shot. Take good shots. Have good spacing. I want to see that ball moving. Half a second decisions. Let's see BYU get to that level of offense in this game. I think you need that in this contest. And I think, BYU doesn't have the 6 days like Kansas, but still a pretty good gap of prep between Monday night and Saturday for this game. I like that spot too for BYU in terms of their prep work. I think BYU is going to be ready for this game. I'm going to go with BYU 79, Kansas 78. I think AJ has some big clutch moments, and we've seen that this season from AJ. When the game is on the line, he can be pretty clutch. And same with Rob Wright. Even though the Arizona game, he had his shot blocked, go look at the Clemson game. Rob Wright's a big-time player, but if the game is on the line, as I'm projecting here with this score, 79-78 BYU, you got to have AJ Dybantsa late in this game to win this thing. He's got to take the shot. He's got to be the guy, or Richie Saunders, because those guys are not going to get their shots blocked because Badunga is so good when it comes to altering shots in that low post. I'm also curious to see how Keba Keita performs in this game. I think him and Badunga are a great matchup in this game. And Kansas has got a wild card player in Bryson Tiller, who's kind of a high ceiling guy that could really evolve over the course of the season for the Jayhawks this year. It's a good team. I thought Kansas did a really nice job with constructing its roster this year compared to previous years. They've got more NBA talent this year, obviously, with Darryn Peterson, but I think they've also done a much better job with identifying players in the portal. And I think with BYU's team, the talent level has clearly raised from last year. Now it's just kind of bringing it all together and consistently stringing together possessions, because BYU has not played clean throughout Big 12 play, as Kevin Young noted earlier in this program. So I'm going to go with BYU 79, Kansas 78 to get it done inside Allen Fieldhouse, and that would be one heck of a victory for this BYU team if they could get it done. I think they will. I think this Cougar team is going to get it done and make it happen and get that victory over the Kansas Jayhawks. And I'll be there inside Allen Fieldhouse with coverage on KSLSports.com. So be on the lookout for that, and I will talk to you next time here on Cougar Tracks, and it's powered by KSLSports.com.